The blizzard screamed across the ice moon like a living thing. Rinsha dragged the sled through snow that cut like glass. Her scales, normally beautiful shades of blue and silver, were covered in frost. Each step felt heavier than the last. Behind her, 3 crystalline pods bounced on the makeshift sled. Inside those pods were her babies, Kier, Lesh, and Venna, her 3 precious offspring. They weren't moving anymore. 2 days ago, they had been healthy, playing in the colony caves, learning to regulate their body temperature like all young Draken must learn. Then the freezing started, from the inside out. The colony's doctors couldn't stop it. They called it crystal frost syndrome, a death sentence. Rinsha had watched 12 other children die in the past week. The Draken colony on Velthara had given up hope. The elders prepared funeral songs. They told her to accept the will of the universe. They told her to let go. She refused. Through the storm, she had seen lights. The human mining station. It was small, probably only a handful of workers. Humans were weak creatures, everyone knew that. Soft skin, fragile bones. They needed machines to survive in places where Draken walked freely. But they had technology. Different technology. Technology that might see what Draken doctors could not. Her legs buckled. Rinsha fell forward into the snow. The wind tried to bury her. She thought about staying down. Just for a moment. Just to rest, then she heard it. A sound from one of the pods. A weak pulse of light. Venna, the youngest, still fighting. Rinsha forced herself up. She grabbed the sled ropes with hands that had lost all feeling. The human station was close now. Maybe 200 meters. She could see the airlock door. A solid metal barrier between her and help 1 foot. Then another. The world narrowed to just that. Movement forward, always forward. She didn't remember the last 50 meters. Later, she would have no memory of reaching the door. No memory of pounding on the metal with fists that left cracks in the ice coating her scales. No memory of the moment when her strength finally ran out. Darkness took her. Inside the station, Taman was checking the heating system for the 3rd time that day. The blizzard outside was the worst he'd seen in 2 years of working on Velthara. The temperature had dropped to minus 90 degrees. Even with the station's insulation, he could feel the cold trying to creep in. He was a good engineer. Not the best, maybe, but good enough to keep 5 people alive on a moon that actively tried to kill anything warm-blooded. His hands moved automatically through the checklist. Pressure valves, temperature regulators, air recyclers, all working within normal parameters. Then the exterior alarm screamed. Taman jumped, nearly dropping his diagnostic pad. The alarm meant something was at the outer airlock. But that was impossible. Nobody went outside in this weather. Not even the Draken from the colony 5 kilometers away. They might be able to survive the cold, but not a storm like this. He ran to the airlock control panel. The exterior camera was covered in ice, but he could make out a shape. Large, not human. His first thought was that some piece of equipment had blown against the door. Then the shape moved. Taman's breath caught. He hit the intercom. Junyo, Hana. Someone's outside. Footsteps pounded through the corridor. Junyo arrived first, station chief and by-the-book rule follower. He took one look at the screen and swore. That's a Draken. She's dying, Taman said. He was already reaching for the airlock controls. Junho grabbed his wrist. Wait, we don't know what's wrong with her. Could be disease. Could be anything. She came here for help. Taman pulled free. I'm not leaving someone to die at our door. Damn it, Taman, but Taman had already hit the button. The outer door slid open. Cold air rushed into the airlock, triggering alarms. Through the camera, they watched the Draken collapse forward. She fell into the airlock chamber, and 3 strange pods tumbled in after her, attached by frozen ropes. Taman sealed the outer door and started the decontamination cycle. Junyo was speaking rapidly into his communicator, calling the others. Within 2 minutes, all 5 humans crowded around the airlock window. Hana pressed close to the glass. She was their medic, though her experience with non-human biology was limited to a single training course. Those are stasis pods, medical grade. What's in them? Minji asked. She handled communications, a nervous woman who always expected the worst. Children, probably, Hana said quietly. Draken offspring are small. The decontamination cycle finished. The inner door unlocked. Taman moved forward, but Doyen, their geologist and the largest of the crew, stepped in front. I'll get her. You might get hurt. They pulled the Draken woman inside. She was heavy, even unconscious. Her scales were ice-cold to the touch, which probably meant nothing for her species. They laid her on the corridor floor while Hana examined the pods. Each pod was made of a crystal-like material that glowed faintly. Inside, Taman could see small forms. They looked like miniature dragons from Earth legends. Tiny scales, small wings folded against their backs. They weren't moving. Are they alive? He asked. Hana checked the display on one pod. The symbols were in Draken script, which none of them could read, but the pattern of lights looked wrong. Irregular. I think they're dying. These pods are running out of power. Rinsha stirred. Her eyes opened and every human took a step back. Draken eyes were intimidating. Vertical pupils, brilliant gold color, designed for hunting. She focused on them slowly, confusion clearing into understanding. She tried to speak, but only a croak came out. Her throat was damaged from the cold. She looked at her offspring, saw the failing pods, and made a sound that needed no translation. Anguish. Hana knelt beside her carefully. We want to help. Can you understand me? Rinsha nodded once. She pointed at the pods, then at Hana, then pressed her clawed hands together in what might have been a universal gesture. Please. Junho stood back, arms crossed, face troubled. He was thinking about regulations, about the company policies that forbade contact with alien species without proper authorization, about the dozen ways this could destroy all their careers. Taman wasn't thinking about any of that. He was looking at 3 dying children and a mother who had crawled through hell to save them. He turned to Junho. We're helping them. The company. I don't care about the company. They stared at each other. The other 3 crew members watched silently, waiting to see which way this would go. Outside, the blizzard howled. Inside, 3 lives flickered like candle flames in the wind. Finally, Junho closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he looked tired. Get them to medical. Hana, do what you can. Taman, see if you can stabilize those pods. He looked at Rinsha. We'll help. But you need to help us understand what they need. Rinsha understood enough. Tears froze on her scales as she nodded. She tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't support her. Doyen and Taman each took a pod. Minji took the 3rd. They carried the offspring toward the medical bay, following Hana. Rinsha crawled after them. Pride meant nothing now. Only survival. Behind them, Junho made a note in his log. He recorded the time, the date, and wrote, rescued 1 Draken female and 3 offspring from blizzard. Possible medical emergency. Taking action under humanitarian exception clause. He knew that note might be the end of his career. But some things mattered more than careers. He followed the others to medical bay, leaving the storm to rage outside. The medical bay was too small for 6 people and 3 dying children. Hana worked quickly, clearing equipment from the main examination table. The others placed the pods down gently, as if afraid they might shatter. Rinsha watched from the doorway where Doyen had helped her sit. Every muscle in her body screamed. She had pushed herself beyond her limits in that storm. Now she was paying the price. But she couldn't rest. Not while her babies were dying. Hana connected her scanner to the first pod. The device made confused noises, unable to properly read the alien technology. She frowned at the display, then tried a different approach. Taman, can you interface with these directly? Taman examined the pod's exterior. His fingers traced the crystal surface, looking for access ports or control panels. The Draken made things differently than humans. Where human technology was angular and obvious, this was smooth and organic. There, he said, finding a slight depression. He pressed it. The pod's display lit up with symbols. Minji, get the translation program, Junho ordered. See if our computer can read this. Minji ran from the room. The remaining 4 humans gathered around the pod. Inside, a tiny Draken, Kir, though they didn't know her name yet, lay perfectly still. Her scales were pale blue, almost white. Her chest barely moved. Rinsha made a sound. Not words, but emotion. It drew their attention. She was trying to stand, using the doorframe for support. Hana moved to help her, but Rinsha waved her away. She needed to do this herself. She stumbled to the table. Her hands, still shaking from exhaustion, touched the pod's surface. Then she did something the humans hadn't expected. She spoke. The words were broken, heavily accented, but understandable. Temperature wrong, inside wrong. You speak our language? Hana asked, surprised. Little, Rinsha forced out. Her throat was still damaged. Learned, before, for trade talks. She coughed and it sounded painful. Children, freezing from inside. Not outside, inside, Taman understood first. Their internal temperature regulation is broken. They're generating cold instead of heat. Rinsha nodded. The effort of speaking clearly exhausted her, but she continued. Doctors say, nothing can fix is death, but human technology different, maybe see different, maybe fix different. Minji returned with a tablet. She set it up next to the pod running the translation software. Slowly the Draken symbols began converting to human text. Most of it was medical jargon that none of them understood, but some things were clear. Temperature, -20 degrees and falling, Minji read aloud. That's inside her body? Impossible, Anna said. Nothing can survive that. Draken can survive cold, Doyen pointed out. They live in sub-zero temperatures normally. But not inside, Rinshaw insisted. She was leaning heavily on the table now. Outside, yes. Inside, no. Inside must be warm. Like humans. Same temperature almost, that changed everything. Hana pulled up her medical database, searching for anything relevant. So this is like hypothermia, but internal? Their core temperature is dropping, while their outer temperature stays normal. Yes. Rinsha looked at each human in turn. Her golden eyes were desperate. You help, please? We'll do anything. Junho rubbed his face. He hadn't slept in 30 hours, and this situation was getting more complicated by the minute. Let's be clear about something. We want to help. But we're not doctors. We're miners and engineers. We don't know anything about Draken biology. No more than our doctors, Rinsha said. They gave up, you... Not give up yet? The question hung in the air. Taman looked at the pod, at the tiny creature inside. He thought about what it took for a mother to drag her dying children through a killer storm to strangers. To aliens she probably feared or distrusted. That kind of desperation, that kind of hope. How could anyone turn away from it? We'll try, he said quietly. I don't know if we can save them, but we'll try. Junho shot him a look. As station chief, this should have been his call. But he didn't contradict Taman. Instead, he turned to Hana. What do you need? Time, information, and probably a miracle, Hana said honestly. She addressed Rinshaw directly. Tell me everything about Draken physiology. Start with how your temperature regulation normally works. For the next hour, Rinshaw explained. Her voice grew stronger as her body recovered from the storm. Draken were cold-blooded in a way, she told them, but not like Earth reptiles. They could generate their own heat, but they could also absorb cold. It was an evolutionary advantage on ice worlds. They were perfectly balanced between hot and cold, until something broke that balance. Mar Crystal Frost Syndrome, Rinsha said. The name tasted bitter. Appeared 3 weeks ago. Only affects children. Temperature regulation reverses. They freeze from core outward. Our doctors tried everything, drugs, surgery, direct heating. Nothing works. Because you're treating the symptoms, not the cause, Taman said. He was thinking like an engineer now. The regulation system isn't broken. It's reversed, like a heating system that starts pumping cold air instead. Hana caught his meaning. So we don't need to heat them. We need to reverse the reversal. Flip the system back to normal. Can you do that? Rinsha asked. Hope crept into her voice. I don't know, Hana admitted. Human medicine doesn't work like that. We don't have anything that can reverse internal temperature generation. But human agriculture does. Taman said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. He was grinning, the expression of someone who had just solved a puzzle. The greenhouses, the variable temp units we use for extreme world crops. Doyen understood immediately. The ones that can switch between heating and cooling in cycles. Exactly. They're designed to simulate different planetary conditions. Some plants need cold, some need heat, some need both in cycles. Taman was already moving toward the door. If I can modify those systems, scale them down, and tune them to Draken biology. That's a huge if, Junho said. It's better than no if, Taman countered. Rinsha looked between them, not understanding all the technical talk, but understanding the tone. You can try this? This thing with plants? The technology exists, Hana said carefully. But modifying it for medical use, especially for a species we know almost nothing about, it's dangerous. It could work. Or it could make things worse. They dying already, Rinshaw said simply. Worse is dead. This gives chance she was right. Hunyo knew she was right. He thought about calling the company headquarters, getting authorization, following proper procedure. Then he thought about how long that would take. Days, probably. These children didn't have days. Do it, he told Taman. Hana, you help him. Get me a list of what you need and I'll pull it from our supplies. The company's going to notice equipment missing, Minji warned. Let them notice, Junho said. We'll deal with that later. Taman and Hana left quickly, already discussing modifications. Doyen went to help them carry equipment. Minji stayed at her communication station, monitoring the storm and company channels. That left Junho and Rinsha alone in the medical bay. The Draken woman had finally allowed herself to sit in a chair. She looked exhausted. Hunyo poured water from the dispenser and offered it to her. She took it carefully. Her hands were steadier now, but she stared at the water like she wasn't sure what to do with it. Drink it, Junho said. Your body needs it, Rinsha drank. The water was room temperature, probably warm by her standards, but she didn't complain. When she finished, she set the cup down and looked at Junho directly. Why you help? Humans and Draken, not friends. Junho considered the question. Because you came to our door. Because those are children. Because, he paused, searching for the right words. Because it's the right thing to do. Right thing cost you. I understand this. Company will be angry. Probably. You do anyway. Yes. Rinsha was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Draken have saying, see person in storm, you see their heart. I see your heart now. All of you. It is unexpected. What did you expect? Was told humans are weak, selfish, care only for profit and self. Rinsha gestured at the pods. This not selfish? Junho smiled tiredly. Humans are complicated. We can be selfish. We can be generous. Sometimes both at the same time. He looked at the pods too. I think most of us deep down we just want to help when we can. Hope you're right, Rinsha said. Hope your people can save my babies. We'll find out soon, Junho said. Outside the storm continued to rage. But inside the small human station something else was beginning. A bridge between two species, built not on treaties or trade agreements but on desperation, compassion, and hope. Taman hadn't slept in 48 hours. His hands shook as he connected the last circuit board. Around him, the workshop looked like a storm had hit it. Equipment parts covered every surface. Cables ran across the floor in tangled patterns. In the center of it all sat his creation. He called it the thermal reversal chamber. That sounded more official than what it really was. A desperate combination of greenhouse temperature controllers, medical scanners, and mining equipment power regulators. It looked like something a child might build from spare parts. But if his calculations were correct, it might save 3 lives. Hana entered the workshop carrying 2 cups of coffee. She set one beside Taman and drank from the other. How close are we? Close. Maybe. Taman rubbed his eyes. The theory is sound. We create a controlled environment where we can manipulate temperature at a cellular level. The system will read the offspring's internal temperature, then apply opposing thermal energy to reverse the crystal frost effect. In terms I can understand. We fight cold with heat, but from the inside out, like resetting a computer by reversing the power flow. He picked up his coffee but didn't drink it. The problem is calibration. Too much heat and we cook them. Too little and nothing happens. And we only get 1 chance per offspring. Why only 1? Because their bodies are shutting down. Each attempt will stress their systems. If we fail, they'll die within hours. If we succeed, they should stabilize immediately. He looked at her. No pressure, right? Hana smiled despite the situation. You've done amazing work here, Taman. Whatever happens, you should be proud. I'll be proud when they're alive and healthy. Rinsha appeared in the doorway. She had spent the past 2 days either in the medical bay watching over her children or pacing the corridors. She barely slept, barely ate. Now she looked at the machine Taman had built, trying to understand it. This will save them? She asked. We hope so, Taman said. He wouldn't lie to her with false certainty. We're ready to try. But you need to understand the risks. This has never been done before. Not on Draken, not on humans. Never. I understand. Rinsha moved closer to the machine. She reached out but didn't touch it, as if afraid she might break something. When? Now, if you're ready. Hana set down her coffee. We'll start with Kier. She's the strongest of the three. If the procedure works on her, we'll know the calibration is correct for the others. Rinsha's expression tightened. The choice was impossible. Pick which child to risk first. But she nodded. Kier is brave. She would want to go first. They moved to the medical bay. Doyen and Minji were already there, having helped transport the thermal reversal chamber. Junho stood near the wall, observing. He had entered this into his log as an experimental medical procedure. That would probably not save his career, but at least it was honest. Kier's pod sat on the examination table. The display showed her temperature had dropped another 3 degrees. She was at -23 now. Her body was completely still. The only sign of life was the faint pulse indicator on the pod. We have to remove her from the pod, Hana said. The reversal chamber needs direct contact. Rinsha's hands trembled as she opened the pod. The crystal surface split along invisible seams, releasing a wave of cold air that made the humans gasp. Rinsha reached in and lifted her daughter. Kier was tiny, maybe the size of a human cat. Her scales were almost white now, all color drained by the cold inside her. Her wings, delicate and membrane-thin, hung limp. Rinsha held her close for a moment, whispering something in her own language. Then she placed Kier inside the reversal chamber. Taemin sealed the chamber. Transparent panels on all sides allowed them to watch. He checked every connection twice, then looked at Hana. She was monitoring Kier's vital signs on multiple screens. Heart rate is almost nothing, Hana reported. Brain activity is minimal. She's in some kind of hibernation state. That might help, Taemin said. Less active biology means less chance of rejection. He moved to the control panel. His finger hovered over the activation button. Rinsha, last chance, do we do this? Yes. Her voice didn't waver. Save my daughter. Taemin pressed the button. The chamber hummed to life. Lights appeared along its edges, cycling through different colors. Inside, Kier remained motionless. On the screens, numbers began to change, slowly at first, then faster. Internal temperature rising, Hana called out. -23, -20, -18. Too fast, Taemin said. He adjusted controls. Slowing the rate. We need gradual change, not shock. The temperature rise slowed. Everyone in the room watched the screens. Nobody breathed. The only sounds were the machine's hum and the soft beeping of monitors. -10 degrees, -5, -2. Then the temperature stopped rising. It held at -1 degree for a long minute. Hana checked other readings. Her body is fighting it. The crystal frost syndrome is resisting the reversal. Expected, Taemin said. His hands moved across controls. Increasing thermal opposition. If her system is pushing cold, we push back with heat. The machine's hum grew louder. Inside the chamber, Kier twitched. It was slight, barely noticeable, but everyone saw it. Movement, Doyen said. That's good, right? Don't know yet, Hana admitted. She was watching brain activity readings. Could be seizure, could be revival. Come on, little one. Fight. 0 degrees, 1 degree, 2 degrees. Kier twitched again, stronger this time. Her tiny chest expanded with a breath. A real breath, not the shallow movements from before. We're getting response, Hana said. Excitement crept into her voice. Heart rate increasing, brain activity spiking. She's waking up. 5 degrees, 8 degrees, 10 degrees. Kier's eyes opened. They were gold, like her mother's, but smaller. Confused. She looked around the chamber, not understanding where she was. Then she saw Rinsha through the transparent panels. Her mouth opened, and though the chamber was soundproof, they could see her calling out. Rinsha pressed her hands against the chamber. Tears ran down her scaled face. I'm here, baby. Mother is here. 15 degrees, 20 degrees. The temperature stabilized at 23 degrees. Normal for Draken physiology. She's stable, Hana announced. All vitals are entering normal ranges. Temperature regulation is responding correctly. Taman, I think it worked. I think you did it. Taman didn't celebrate yet. He carefully powered down the chamber and opened it. Kyr tumbled out, weak but alive. Rinsha caught her, pulled her close, rocked her like all mothers rock their children. Kyr wrapped tiny arms around her mother's neck and made soft sounds. One down, Taman said. Relief made him dizzy. 2 to go. They moved quickly. Lesh was next, the middle child. They placed him in the chamber and activated the sequence. This time Taman knew what to expect. He adjusted the calibration based on what he learned from Kyr. The process went smoother. Lesh woke up faster, stronger. Then came Venna, the youngest, the smallest, the weakest. Her temperature had dropped to -28 degrees. She was closer to death than her siblings had been. When Rinshaw lifted her from the pod, Venna didn't move at all. Her scales were completely white. She was barely breathing. Taman, Hana said quietly. I don't know if she's strong enough. We have to try, Rinshaw said. Her voice was fierce. We have to. They placed Venna in the chamber. Taman activated the sequence. The temperature began to rise, but slower than before. Venna's body wasn't responding as well. Her heart rate remained dangerously low. She's not fighting, Hana said. She's given up. No. Rinsha pressed close to the chamber. She spoke in her own language, urgent and pleading. Venna, please, Mother is here. Your sisters are here. Come back to us. Inside the chamber, Venna's tiny chest rose and fell irregularly. The temperature climbed slowly. -20, -15, -10. Then it stopped. Venna's heart rate began to drop. She's crashing, Hana said. Taman, we're losing her. Taman pushed the thermal opposition higher than he had for the others. It was dangerous, but so was death. The machine protested with alarms. Junho moved forward. That's too high. You'll damage the system. I don't care about the system, Taman said. The temperature jumped. -5 degrees, 0, 2 degrees, 5 degrees. Venna's heart rate stabilized. Then it began to climb. Her chest movements became regular. Her scales started to regain their color. A beautiful pale green. 10 degrees. 15 degrees. 20 degrees. 23 degrees. Venna's eyes opened. She was alive. Rinsha collapsed. The emotional weight of the past 3 days finally broke her. She sat on the floor, holding Kyr and Lesh, watching as Hana carefully removed Venna from the chamber and handed her over. 3 living children. 3 impossible miracles. The human crew stood back, giving the family their moment. Taman leaned against the wall, exhaustion finally catching up with him. Hana smiled with tears in her eyes. Even Junho, normally so controlled, looked emotional. You did it, Doyen said, clapping Taman on the shoulder. You actually did it. We did it, Taman corrected. All of us. Rinsha looked up at them. Her 3 offspring clung to her, alive and warm. Thank you, she said. The words seemed too small for what she felt. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're welcome, Taman said simply. Outside, the storm had finally ended. The first light of Velthara's distant sun broke through the clouds. Inside the station, 5 humans and 4 Draken faced an uncertain future. But for now, in this moment, there was only life and hope, and the knowledge that 3 days after the revival, life in the station found a new rhythm. The offspring were growing stronger by the hour. Kyr had already started exploring, her tiny claws clicking on the metal floors. Lesh preferred to stay close to his mother, quiet and observant. Venna, the youngest, was still weak but improving steadily. Rinsha watched her children with constant vigilance. She had set up a nest in one of the storage rooms that the humans had cleared for her. The temperature there was kept lower, comfortable for Draken. But the offspring spent most of their time in the warmer sections of the station, following the humans around with curious eyes. Taman had become particularly popular. Kyr followed him everywhere, making soft chirping sounds. When he sat down to work, she would curl up near his feet. When he moved, she scurried after him. "I think you have a fan," Hana said, watching this with amusement. "She thinks I'm interesting," Taemin replied. "I saved her life. That probably creates a bond. You saved all their lives. But Kier chose you specifically, it was true." Lesh had bonded with Doyun, who was patient and gentle despite his size. Venna stayed close to Hana, perhaps recognizing the medical care she had received. But Kier belonged to Taemin. In the command center, Junho stared at his computer screen with growing concern. He had been monitoring company communications all morning. What he saw troubled him deeply. Minji entered the room. "You wanted to see me?" "Close the door," Junho said. She did, then sat down across from him. "What's wrong?" "We have a problem. A big one." He turned the screen so she could see. "I intercepted a message from corporate headquarters. They're sending a rescue ship. That's good, isn't it? The storm damaged some of our systems. We could use resupply. Read it carefully." Minji leaned forward, scanning the message. Her expression changed as she read. "They're not calling it a rescue ship. They're calling it a recovery operation." She looked up. "What does that mean?" "It means they know about the Draken. Someone reported us. Or their monitoring systems flagged our supply usage. Either way, corporate knows we violated quarantine protocols." Junho pulled up another file. "This is their official policy on xenobiological contact. Any unauthorized interaction with alien species requires immediate containment and sterilization of the area." "Sterilization?" Minji's voice rose. "They want to kill them? Kill Rinsha and her children?" "They call it biological contamination disposal. But yes, that's what it means. We can't let that happen." "I know." Junho rubbed his face. He looked like he had aged 10 years in the past week. "The ship arrives in 3 days. We need to figure out what to do. We hide them. We don't let the recovery team find them." "Where?" "This station is small. They'll search everywhere. Then we lie. We say they left. Went back to their colony." Junho shook his head. "The storm damaged our exterior sensors, but not theirs. They'll scan for life signs. They'll know if anyone's here. So what do we do?" Minji asked. Desperation crept into her voice. "We just let them take those children and kill them?" "I don't know," Junho admitted. "But we need to tell the others. They deserve to know what's coming." They called a meeting in the common area. Everyone gathered except Rinsha, who was with her children. Hunyo explained the situation carefully. When he finished, silence filled the room. Finally, Doyun spoke. "They can't do this. Those are living, thinking beings, not contamination." "The company doesn't see it that way," Junho said. "To them, we're a mining operation that broke protocol. The Draken are a liability." "What about going public?" Hana suggested. "If people knew what happened here, the company couldn't just cover it up." "Our communications are monitored," Minji said. "Any message we send gets logged. Corporate would intercept it before it reached anyone who could help." "Then we don't send a message," Taemin said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. "We record everything. Every moment from when Rinsha arrived until now. We document the revival procedure. We make a complete record. Then we hide it. How does that help?" Doyun asked. "Because if we have evidence, we have leverage. The company wants to keep this quiet. But if we tell them that evidence exists and will go public if anything happens to the Draken, they'll have to negotiate." Junho considered this. "That's blackmail." "That's survival," Taemin countered. "It's also risky. If corporate calls our bluff, we have nothing, so we make sure they don't call our bluff." Hana stood up. "I'll compile all the medical records. Minji, you gather the communications logs. Doyun, get the security footage. Taemin, write up the technical specifications of what you built. Junho, you write the narrative. Everything that happened from your perspective as station chief." "And then what?" Junho asked. "Then we tell Rinsha. She deserves to know what's coming." They worked through the night. By morning, they had compiled a complete record of everything that happened. Medical readings, security footage, personal logs, technical schematics, the story of how 5 humans had saved 3 alien children. Taemin encrypted the files and uploaded them to 3 separate locations. One hidden in the station's system, one transmitted to a communications buoy in deep space, one stored on a personal device that Minji could carry. When everything was ready, they called Rinsha to the command center. She arrived with her children following. Kier immediately went to Taemin. Lesh climbed onto Doyun's lap. Venna stayed close to Hana. Junho explained the situation as gently as he could. He told her about the company, about the recovery team, about what might happen when they arrived. Rinsha listened without interruption. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I should leave." "Take my children and go." "Not bring danger to you." "Where would you go?" Hana asked. "The storm may have passed, but you're still recovering. The children are still weak." "And your colony?" "My colony gave up on them," Rinsha said bitterly. "They will not welcome us back. We are a reminder of failure." "Then you stay here," Taemin said firmly. "We're not letting the company hurt you. You risk everything for us." "Already risked everything. I cannot ask for more." "You're not asking," Doyen said. "We're choosing." Kier chirped and nuzzled against Taemin's hand. Lesh made a contented sound in Doyen's arms. Venna reached up to touch Hana's face with a tiny claw. The offspring had accepted the humans completely. To them, these strange soft-skinned creatures were family now. Rinsha saw this, saw how her children had bonded with their saviors. Her eyes filled with tears again. "Why you do this? Humans and Draken are nothing to each other." "That's not true anymore," Hana said simply. "We're something to each other now," Minji added. "Family," Toyin said. The word hung in the air. Family. Not by blood or species, but by choice and shared experience. By the bonds forged in crisis and strengthened through care. Rinsha bowed her head. It was a gesture of deep respect among her people. "I am honored. My children are honored. We will stand with you against what comes." "Then we need a plan," Junho said. He was thinking like a strategist now. "The recovery team will arrive expecting to find evidence of contamination. What if we give them something else?" "Like what?" Minji asked. "Like a success story." Junho pulled up files on his screen. "Taemin, your thermal reversal chamber, it's revolutionary. Not just for Draken. Think about the applications for human medicine. For terraforming. For industrial processes. You want to sell it as a discovery?" Taemin said. "I want to sell it as the future, as something valuable enough that killing its creators would be a waste." Junho looked at each of them. "We make them see that this isn't a contamination incident. It's a breakthrough. And breakthroughs are profitable. Corporate loves profit," Minji said thoughtfully. "More than they love protocol," Junho agreed. "If we can convince them that this technology is worth more than the cost of covering up our violation, we might survive." "It's a long shot," Hana said. "It's the only shot we have." They spent the next 2 days preparing. Taemin refined his documentation, making the thermal reversal technology look as impressive as possible. Hana compiled medical data showing applications for various species. Doyen calculated industrial uses for mining operations. Minji prepared presentations. Rinsha contributed everything she knew about Draken biology and technology. She taught them about her people's history, their needs, their potential as partners rather than problems. The offspring helped in their own way. They were proof that different species could coexist, could form bonds, could build something new together. On the morning of the 3rd day, sensors detected an approaching ship, large, military grade. The recovery team had arrived. Junho stood in the command center, watching the ship approach on the screen. Around him, his crew gathered. Rinsha stood with them, her children close. They had made their choice. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. "This is it," Junho said quietly. "This is it," Taemin agreed. The ship began its docking sequence. In a few minutes, corporate security would board. They would find a situation they hadn't expected. 5 humans and 4 Drakens standing together, not as violators and contamination, but as something new, something that might change everything. The recovery team docked with mechanical precision. Through the airlock window, Junho watched 6 figures in full containment suits board the station. They moved like soldiers, efficient and emotionless. The leader carried scanning equipment. The others had weapons, supposedly for safety protocols, but everyone knew what they really meant. Junho opened the inner airlock. The team entered the station corridor. The leader removed her helmet, revealing a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and an expression that suggested she'd seen everything and trusted nothing. "Station Chief Junho," she asked. "That's me, Commander Yunji, Corporate Security. We're here to assess the contamination situation and implement containment protocols." Her eyes moved past him, scanning the corridor. "Where are the other crew members?" Common room. I'll take you there. As they walked, Yunji's team deployed scanners. They swept the walls, the floors, the air itself, looking for biological threats, looking for evidence of the Draken presence. They would find it. Junyo wasn't trying to hide that. Hiding would only make things worse. The common room had been prepared carefully. The human crew sat at the main table. Rinsha stood near the wall, her 3 offspring arranged around her. Kier sat calmly, though her tail twitched with nervousness. Lesh pressed close to his mother. Venna, still the smallest, watched the strangers with wide golden eyes. Yunji stopped in the doorway. Her team raised their weapons instinctively. "Hold fire," Yunji ordered. She studied the scene with the same calculating expression. "You're harboring unauthorized alien life forms." "We're hosting guests who needed medical assistance," Junyo corrected. "That's not how corporate will see it." "Then corporate needs to adjust their perspective." Taemin stood up. "Because what happened here is bigger than protocol violations." Yunji's attention shifted to him. "You're the engineer, Taemin. You've read our files. I've read your violation reports. Unauthorized xenobiological contact, misuse of company resources, failure to report contamination. The list goes on." "We saved lives," Hana said. 3 children who were dying." "Noble," Yunji said, and her tone suggested she didn't consider it noble at all. "But against every safety regulation. You put yourselves at risk. You put the company at risk." She stopped. Kier had moved. The small Draken offspring walked directly toward the security team, apparently unafraid. She looked up at Yunji with curious eyes. One of the security officers tensed. "Commander, should we—" "Stay still," Yunji said quietly. She watched as Kier approached her, sniffed her boots, then made a soft chirping sound. "What is it doing?" "Greeting you," Rinshaw said. She spoke carefully, her human words still accented but clear. "She is friendly. All my children are friendly. They're juveniles of a species known to be aggressive and territorial," Yunji said, but she didn't move away from Kier. "Maybe we're not as aggressive as you think," Rinsha replied. "Maybe you just never tried to meet us properly." Kier chirped again and returned to Taemin, climbing up his leg to sit on his shoulder. He steadied her automatically, a gesture that had become natural over the past days. Yunji observed this. Her expression gave nothing away, but Junho saw the calculation in her eyes. She was reassessing the situation. "Show me what you did," Yunji said finally. "Show me how you saved them." They took her to the medical bay. Taemin explained the thermal reversal chamber while Hana pulled up medical records. They showed the before and after readings, the temperature data, the revival process, everything documented with scientific precision. Yunji listened without interrupting. Her team recorded everything. When Taemin finished, she stood silently for a long moment. "This technology," she said finally, "it doesn't exist. Not in any human medical database." "It does now," Taemin said. "You built it from agricultural equipment and medical scanners and mining power regulators. I adapted what we had. In 3 days. When the alternative is watching children die, you work fast." Yunji examined the chamber more closely. She ran her own scans. "This could have applications beyond Draken physiology." "That's what we thought," Junho said. He pulled up the presentations they had prepared. Temperature regulation at a cellular level. Imagine the possibilities. Hypothermia treatment, fever reduction, thermal injuries, cancer therapy targeting overheated cell clusters. "You're pitching this as a corporate asset," Yunji said. "I'm pitching this as the future. And the Draken, what do they get out of this pitch?" Rinsha stepped forward. "My people are dying. Crystal frost syndrome has killed 28 children in our colony. More are sick. This technology could save them. Could save our entire next generation. In exchange for what? Partnership, trade, knowledge sharing. Everything humans want from first contact, but actually earning it instead of taking it." Yunji turned to her team. "Leave us. Wait in the corridor." The security officers hesitated but obeyed. When they were gone, Yunji sat down heavily. She suddenly looked very tired. "You've put me in an impossible position," she said. "My orders are clear. Eliminate the contamination. Sanitize the station. File a report that makes this go away quietly. Will you follow those orders?" Junyo asked. "That depends on what happens in the next 5 minutes." Yunji looked at each of them. "Convince me that letting you live, letting them live, is worth risking my career." "Show her," Taman said to Kier. Show her what you can do. Kier tilted her head, understanding somehow. She climbed down from Taman's shoulder and stood in the center of the room. Then she closed her eyes and concentrated. The temperature around her began to change. A bubble of warmth formed, visible as a slight shimmer in the air. It expanded slowly, encompassing about 2 meters in diameter. Within that bubble, the air was noticeably warmer. Outside at normal temperature, what is she doing? Yunji asked. Creating a localized temperature field, Hana said. All 3 offspring can do it now. We think the crystal frost syndrome wasn't a disease. It was evolution. Rapid traumatic evolution triggered by environmental stress. Venna joined her sister. Her bubble overlapped with Kier's and the temperature in the intersection point became even warmer. Lesh added his bubble, creating a complex pattern of varying temperatures. They can control it? Hyunji asked. With practice, Rinsha said. They are still learning. But yes, they can create heat or cold in small areas, can maintain temperature in harsh environments, can protect others within their fields. This is impossible. It was impossible, Taman corrected, until human technology helped trigger it. Until human compassion gave them the chance to develop it. The offspring released their fields. The temperature normalized. They returned to their mother, pleased with their demonstration. Yunji was quiet for a very long time. When she spoke again, her voice was different. Less official, more human. I joined corporate security because I believed in protection. Protecting people, protecting assets, protecting interests. Somewhere along the way, that became just following orders, eliminating problems instead of solving them. She stood and walked to the window. Outside, Velthara's ice field stretched endlessly. 20 years ago, I would have helped you immediately. Would have seen what you saw, people in need. Somewhere between then and now, I forgot that species doesn't matter when someone's dying in front of you. She turned back to them. You reminded me. These children reminded me. Does that mean... Junho started. It means I'm going to file a very different report than the one corporate expects. Yunji smiled slightly. It means I'm probably going to lose my job, but I'll lose it for something that matters. Relief flooded the room. Hana hugged Minji. Doyen clapped Taman on the back. Junyo closed his eyes briefly, tension releasing from shoulders that had been locked tight for days. Rinsha approached Yunji carefully. You risk much for us. Like they did. She gestured at the human crew. Why? Because it's right, Yunji said simply. And because I've been doing wrong for too long. She looked at the offspring. They're beautiful, you know? Your children. They're absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Rinsha said softly. Over the next hours, Yunji worked with the crew to compile a comprehensive report. She documented everything with the thoroughness of someone who had spent decades in security work. But this time she wasn't building a case for elimination. She was building a case for revolution. This will cause problems, she told Junho as they reviewed the final document. Corporate won't like it. Regulations will need changing. Policies will need rewriting. It's going to be messy. Good things usually are, Junho replied. But it's also going to change everything. First contact protocols, medical technology, human-alien relations, everything, she smiled. You 5 and your Draken friends just rewrote the future. We just did what needed doing, Taman said. That's exactly my point. Yunji saved the final report. Most people don't do what needs doing. They do what's easy, what's safe, what's allowed. You did what was necessary, even when it cost you everything. She looked at all of them. That's what makes humans special. Not our technology, not our strength, our willingness to help even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Kier chirped in agreement, making everyone laugh. She understands more than you think, Rinsha said. All my children do. They know what you did for them. What all humans here did, they will remember. And they will teach their children. And those children will teach their children. For generations, my people will know that when we were dying, humans saved us. Good, Yunji said, because we're 2 weeks after Yunji's departure. Corporate sent another ship. This one was bigger, more official. It carried executives instead of security forces. Yunyo watched it approach with a mixture of anxiety and determination. Yunji had warned him this would happen. Her report had caused chaos at headquarters. The docking process was formal, professional. When the airlock opened, 3 people entered. 2 men in expensive suits and a woman with silver hair tied in a severe bun. They carried tablets instead of weapons, but Junho found them just as intimidating. The woman spoke first. Station Chief Junho, I'm Director Hyejin. This is Analyst Seojin and Legal Advisor Kyungmin. We're here to discuss the Velthara incident. There was no incident, Junho said carefully. There was a medical emergency that we resolved successfully. You violated 17 separate company policies, Kyungmin said, consulting his tablet. Unauthorized alien contact, misuse of resources, failure to report contamination, creating potentially dangerous biotechnology. The list continues for several pages. We saved 3 lives. 3 alien lives, Seojin said. He was younger than the others, ambitious looking. Of unknown value to corporate interests. Unknown value. Taemin had been listening from the corridor. Now he stepped forward. Should I explain exactly how valuable thermal reversal technology is? Or would you prefer to hear about the applications for deep space colonization, medical treatment, and industrial processes? Director Hyejin held up a hand. We've read Commander Yoonji's report. Very thorough. Very detailed. Very problematic for everyone involved. Problematic how? Hunyo asked. Problematic in that it puts the company in a difficult position. If we punish you for saving lives, we look cruel. If we reward you for breaking rules, we look weak. If we ignore it, we set a precedent for others to violate protocol whenever they feel justified. She looked around the corridor. Where are the Draken? In the common room. With my crew. I'd like to meet them. They walked through the station. Yunyo noticed how the executives observed everything. Recording mentally. Calculating costs and benefits. Looking for angles. In the common room, Rinsha stood as they entered. Her offspring were playing with some spare equipment Taemin had given them. Kier had taken apart a communications device and was trying to understand how it worked. Lesh was drawing with a human stylus on a data pad. Venna watched everything with careful attention. You must be Rinsha, Director Hyejin said. I am. Rinsha's human words had improved significantly. She had been practicing with Minji every day. You are the ones who decide our fate. That's a dramatic way to put it, is it not accurate? Hyejin smiled slightly. Perhaps not. Your fate was decided when this crew chose to help you. We're just here to manage the consequences. Bad consequences? Rinsha asked directly. That depends on several factors. Hyejin gestured at the offspring. May I examine them? Rinsha hesitated, then nodded. The director approached Kier first. The young Draken looked up from her disassembled equipment and chirped curiously. Remarkable, Hyejin said. Commander Yoonji's report mentioned they developed new abilities. Temperature manipulation. Show her, Kier said to Taemin. Then everyone stopped, shocked. Kier had spoken in human language. Broken and simple but understandable. Did she just... Seojin started. She's been learning, Taemin said, recovering first. All 3 of them have. They're incredibly intelligent. More than intelligent, Hana added. They're adapting at a rate we've never seen in any species. Learning language. Learning technology. Understanding complex concepts. Kier created her temperature bubble, showing it off proudly. Lesh and Venna joined her, creating an intricate pattern of warm and cool zones throughout the room. The executives watched with obvious surprise. When the demonstration ended, Hyejin was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, This changes everything. That's what we've been trying to tell you, Junho said. No, you don't understand. This changes everything for the entire company. For all of human space exploration. She turned to her companions. Seojin, start running projections. Kyungmin, figure out the legal framework for non-human partnerships. You're not shutting us down? Minji asked, hope in her voice. Shutting you down would be the stupidest business decision in corporate history. Hyejin pulled up her own tablet. Let me explain what's happening right now. Commander Yoonji's report reached headquarters 8 days ago. Since then, we've had inquiries from 16 different governments, 32 research institutions, and every major news organization in human space. Everyone wants to know about the Velthara miracle. The what? Taemin said. That's what they're calling it. The Velthara miracle. First successful human-alien medical cooperation. Revolutionary technology. Proof that interspecies partnership is possible. You 5 are famous whether you want to be or not. We don't want to be famous, Doyen said. We just wanted to help. Too late for that. Hyejin showed them her tablet. The screen displayed news headlines. Human crew saves alien children. New technology promises medical revolution. First contact done right. The engineers who changed everything. Junho read them with growing disbelief. This has been public for 8 days? And you're only coming now? We needed time to develop a strategy. Corporate doesn't move fast, but when we do move, we do it right. Hyejin pulled up another file. Here's what's going to happen. First, this station becomes a research facility. We're sending proper medical equipment, better power systems, and enough supplies to support a much larger operation. What kind of operation? Hana asked. Medical research, cultural exchange, technology development. You're going to treat other Draken with crystal frost syndrome. You're going to teach us about thermal reversal technology. You're going to show the entire galaxy that humans and Draken can work together. And if we refuse? Hunyo said quietly. Why would you refuse? This is what you wanted. To help the Draken. To save lives. To build something meaningful. At what cost? We become corporate puppets? Performing for cameras while you profit from our work? Hyejin's expression hardened. Let me be very clear about something. I'm not here because I'm a nice person. I'm here because you created something valuable. Something the company wants to control. But I'm also not stupid. I know that if we try to force this, we'll destroy exactly what makes it valuable. She gestured at the room. This works because you care. Because you acted from compassion, not profit. If we turn this into a cold corporate venture, it dies. The technology becomes just another tool. The story becomes just another press release. The miracle becomes ordinary. So what are you offering? Yunyo asked. Autonomy. You run this facility. You make the medical decisions. You choose how to use the technology. Corporate provides resources and handles external relations, but you keep control of what matters. She looked at each crew member. You're not puppets. You're pioneers. Act like it. Kyungmin stepped forward. We've drafted contracts. Full legal protections. Salary increases. Research grants. Everything formalized to protect your authority. What about Rinsha and her children? Taemin asked. What's their status? That's complicated, Hyejin admitted. Human law doesn't have a category for non-human partners. We're working on it. In the meantime, they're classified as research collaborators with full rights and protections under our jurisdiction. That's not enough, Hana said. They need citizenship. Real status, we're working toward that. But legal systems move slowly. Right now, this is the best we can offer. Rinsha had been listening carefully. Now she spoke. Is enough for now. My people do not need human citizenship. We need human partnership. We need technology to save our children. We need hope. She looked at Hyejin directly. You offer these things? We do. Then we accept. Wait, Junho said. We should discuss this as a crew. Make sure everyone agrees. They stepped away from the executives gathering in a corner of the room, spoke in low voices, debated, considered every angle. Finally, they returned. We have conditions, Junho said. First, Rinsha gets equal authority in all decisions affecting Draken welfare. Second, any Draken seeking treatment receives it regardless of ability to pay. Third, the thermal reversal technology remains open source. Anyone who needs it can access it. That third condition will cost billions in potential profits, Seojun protested. Don't care, Taemin said flatly. This technology saves lives. It doesn't get locked behind corporate patents. Hyejin considered this. The board will hate it. The board can adapt, Junho said. Or you can leave and we'll find someone else who will agree to our terms. You have no leverage. We control the station. We control the knowledge. The documentation. The procedures, Taemin smiled. And we have 16 governments and 32 research institutions who would love to hear our story. Without corporate control, it was a bluff mostly, but Hyejin didn't know that. She looked at her companions having some silent conversation. Then she nodded, agreed. Open source technology, equal authority for Rinsha, free treatment for all Draken. She extended her hand to Junho. Welcome to your new job, Director Junho. You're now in charge of humanity's first interspecies medical facility. Junho shook her hand. 6 months had transformed everything. The small mining station on Velterra was gone, replaced by something much larger. New modules stretched across the ice like a metal flower opening its petals. A medical wing, research laboratories, living quarters for 20 species, a docking bay large enough for diplomatic vessels. What had been 5 humans struggling to survive was now a thriving hub of interspecies cooperation. They called it the Velthara Institute. Timon stood in his new laboratory, running diagnostics on the thermal reversal chamber. The original prototype still worked perfectly, but he had built 20 more. Each one refined and improved. Each one saving lives across dozens of worlds. Keir sat on his workbench, now almost twice her original size. She was helping with the diagnostic, her small claws moving switches with practiced precision. Her human speech had improved dramatically. "This connection loose," she said, pointing. "Good catch." Timon tightened the connection. "You're getting better at this." "Learning from best teacher," Keir said, and Timon wasn't sure if she meant him or the machines themselves. She had an instinctive understanding of technology that amazed everyone. When she wasn't working with Timon, she was taking apart equipment to see how it functioned. The laboratory door opened. Hana entered, followed by a Draken couple and their child. The offspring was in the early stages of crystal frost syndrome, her scales showing the telltale white coloring. "This is patient 47, Hana said. She had become the Institute's chief medical officer, coordinating treatment for Draken from across their colony and beyond. Temperature at -8 degrees and dropping. "We'll get her stabilized," Timon assured the parents. He had done this 46 times now. Each time still felt important. Each life saved still mattered. They placed the young Draken in the chamber, activated the sequence, waited through the tense minutes of temperature reversal. When the offspring emerged healthy and confused, her parents collapsed in relief. "Just like Rinsha had 6 months ago." "Thank you," the father said, his human words heavily accented. "Heard stories. Did not believe until now. Humans truly have gift from the stars." "Not a gift," Timon said. "Just technology, and the willingness to use it." After they left, Hana sat down heavily. 47 successful treatments. 0 failures. The other medical facilities are reporting similar results. Crystal frost syndrome is becoming survivable. That's good news. It's incredible news. We've saved an entire generation of Draken. But she paused. "We need to talk about something. About what happens when we run out of patients." "We won't run out. Crystal frost appears in new offspring every week." "No, it doesn't. The rate is dropping. We've treated almost every affected child. Soon there won't be any more." Hana pulled up data on her tablet. "We're victims of our own success. We built this facility to save Draken children. Soon there won't be any Draken children who need saving." Timon understood her concern. The Institute needed purpose. Without patience, without crisis, what would justify its existence? "Then we expand.